Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the papercraneyarns knitting podcast. My name is Ashley and I am a yarn dyer, a yarn store owner, a knitter, spinner, cross stitcher, all of those things, and I am located in Alabama, USA. I'm coming to you today from Paper Crane Yarns, which is my little yarn store. Today is Sunday, February 9th of 2025, which means that it's only been like 2 weeks since I last recorded, and that is unheard of for me. So I am very excited to share all the projects that I have managed to finish and start and work on in these past 2 weeks. There's quite a bit, so I'm hoping to keep today's episode relatively brief compared to my other check-ins, but I do have a couple of knitted finished objects, 3 I think. I've got a quilt and a cross stitch, and then I have a garment there as well. I'll show you a little bit of my works in progress. I have 2 new cast-ons since I pretty much wrapped up the majority of the projects that I've been kind of working on. So yeah, 2 new cast-ons and an older work in progress update and a little bit of cross stitch. And then last Sunday, I went to the first ever Scenic Stitches Yarn Festival, or Fiber Festival. It was located in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it was really fun. I went for 1 day on Sunday, so I'll talk just a little bit about that at the end. And maybe a little bit of life stuff. I don't have a whole lot, but just very quickly, I want to say thank you all very much for your condolences and your very kind comments on my last video about the little bit of personal stuff I shared. But let's make today fun and just share all the crafty things. So let's start with my finished objects. The first finished object I want to share with you is what I'm wearing. This is my Dear Duomo by Seunghee. Seunghee knits on Instagram, I think. And of course, everything today that I talk about will be linked below and on the screen. So hopefully that answers all of your questions. But if you have any specific questions about my knits, the best way to get in touch with me is probably going to be Instagram, or you can send me an email and I'll have my contact information below too. Anyway, without further ado. So yes, this is Dear Duomo, and I absolutely love it. So I was working on this the last time I shared a podcast, and I was still missing one sleeve, and of course I had to block it. So I went ahead and knocked out my other sleeve, and I'm so excited because I absolutely love this sweater. So I knit this out of 2 strands of yarn held together. The rainbowy speckled yarn is Ribbon Candy by Long Dog Yarn, and it was on the merino base, 100% superwash merino, a fingering weight yarn, and I held it double with silk mohair. It's my undyed yarn base, and I call the undyed origami. So yes, so it's 2 yarns held together, and I feel like the colors just came out so nicely. I feel like the speckled and variegation aspects of the yarn just played out so nicely. I didn't alternate skeins or anything like that. I just think it just turned out really well. So this pattern was super well written, very nice to knit. I was very confident the whole time I was knitting this that I would love the finished object because the pattern was so thorough and that it included some really fantastic techniques for such an otherwise basic garment. So here we have a folded collar neckline, which I think is nice. It keeps it kind of snug, but not too tight, and it's a little bit thicker, and so I feel like it's going to be kind of sturdy and not stretch out. We have a drop shoulder construction here. This was a bottom-up knit, and it was super awesome. I had no concerns about the length of it as I was knitting it because Seunghee wrote really fantastic instructions and directions for making sure that you get a proper fit for the garment. So the shoulders they're seamed with a 3-needle bind off. So very nice and structured, and they're short row shaping, so it is a little bit longer in the back neck here, and I feel like that helps the overall fit so well. So I highly recommend this pattern. So I knit the size 3 to get the recommended amount of ease, and I'm really happy with what I picked. I think it's just perfect. It's extremely cute. So again, highly recommend this pattern. Oh, one thing I should note that I did not do, the only thing I omitted from the pattern, there is a little bit of a purl stitch sort of faux side seam detail that you can include in the body and in the sleeves. Now, I did do it in the sleeves, and you can kind of see it a little bit there. It's just the one purl stitch, so you kind of have to really look because the fabric is nice and sort of dense, so it conceals that. But the idea being that you would actually make that purl seam, and then you go through and seam the stockinette edges together. And I think the idea is that it's going to just sort of strengthen and increase the longevity of the project. I didn't think it was super necessary, so I actually omitted that in the body. I just skipped the purl stitch altogether, so I think that means my stitch count was 2 fewer for the whole project. And then I did it here, but it was so unnoticeable that I just didn't seam it. So yes, that was my only modification. But yeah, I highly recommend this pattern. It's very cute. I hope that the bottom up nature of this one doesn't scare you. I just think it's really well written. And I really wanted a little drop shoulder pullover, and so I'm really happy with this. And I think it looks really cute with my Soot Sprites, all the different colors. So yeah, overall this is a winner. It is slightly pink overall. There's definitely some pink variegation in there, and there's definitely a lot of white too. I feel like white isn't always the best color on me, so that was the only thing I was a little apprehensive with as far as me wearing it goes and being something in my wardrobe. But I think as long as I kind of brighten up my face with maybe some earrings or some pink lipstick or something, then it'll be really cute. So yes, that's my first finished object. The next finished object I'll share with you is this totally adorable little hood. So this is called the Snug Hood by Saskie&Co, who was formerly the Petite Knitter. This was a test knit, and I shared the yarn with you guys the last time because I just knew that the color combination was so cute. And so yes, I didn't actually share what it was I was working on, but it was a really quick turnaround, so this was what I was working on. So yeah, it's a little hood, like a balaclava, with the color work, and there's this cute little neck. Of course, this is where your face goes. And the most precious little pointed detail, that little point is definitely more exaggerated when you're wearing the hood. So yeah, when I applied for this test knit, it was just, I kind of thought, you know, this would be something cute and kind of quick. Knitting for Olive provided yarn support, and so I just thought that I would at least try it. I wasn't sure if this style of a knitted object would be something I would enjoy or that I would feel like I would actually pick up and wear. So I thought if I didn't wear it, I would save it for my daughter for when she got much bigger or something. But I actually really like it. So I did take some pictures. It's a bit of an awkward thing to try to style because you have to get your hair just right so that it's not tucked into your face. But let me see if I can just quickly throw it on for a second. Now, the designer wears hers, the ribbing part, really close up here, and you could definitely do that, but I think I like it on myself better a little bit farther back. But yeah, it's really cute. I do feel like a little gnome. So there's the kind of the point on the side, and if I wear it a little bit farther back, I think it's more exaggerated. But yeah, so it's very cute. Again, it wasn't something I was sure that I would actually want to wear, but I definitely think it's precious. I think the colors that I chose helps me to feel like it's cute and not weird. Not that I think this is a weird design, but again, I just wasn't sure about, yeah, if I would like it. I'd have to keep saying that. So yes, I love my little snug hood. So this was stranded color work. It's actually 4 different types of yarns, but 2 colors. So it's a strand of merino and the mohair silk held double throughout. So I had, for each of those colors, I had 2 balls of yarn. We had the cherry blossom was my main color, and then my contrast color was red currant. And again, I just think it's super cute. It makes me think of cherry blossoms. I feel like when I was picking my colors for this, there were so many combinations that I thought would be really cute. But when I saw the cherry blossom and what it was called, and then I thought about the colorwork motif, I just thought, let's just kind of lean into this cherry blossom kind of nature of the design. So yes, very happy with this. I did go up a needle size for the colorwork portion because my gauge was a little bit too tight, and I'm happy that I went up because I feel like it's very comfortable and it looks correct and it's not too tight. So that's good. And I think I did go up a needle size on the face ribbing as well, just because I didn't want it too tight across my face, because unlike the designer, I do not live in an Arctic environment. I live in Alabama where it is like subtropical. So there's going to be very few days out of the year that I'll need this. So anyway, yeah. And I think this would look cute with this and a couple of the other things I'm working on right now. So there we go. That's my snug hood. Another knitted finished object I have is a pair of socks. And some of you might recognize this because I had some mini skein bundles available to make these, or whatever you wanted to do with these colors. But back in September, I knit the first sock on my New Orleans trip with all of my girlfriends. So I knit the first sock back in September, and then I just let all the yarn and needles sit in a bag for a couple of months before I knit the second one. So I just decided to go ahead and knock that out this week so I can finally have this adorable pair of socks. I've been, as I have said, really inspired by the pink and red combination, so I kind of wanted to just keep going with that. So this yarn was my Pop Art mini skein bundle. I don't currently have any in stock, but I will probably dye more towards the summertime when it's a little bit, it's punchier colors, just thinking more for the summertime. This is sort of just a vanilla sock pattern, but I was kind of inspired by one of the socks from Summer Lee's book. On the cover of that book, in that book, there is a pattern for a striped sock like this with a really tiny ribbed cuff. And I remember before I went on the trip, I brought 2 sock knitting projects, and I did not bring the book with me, so I just kind of eyeballed something similar to what she had done. So I have the book, but anyway, it's not that pattern, but it was inspired by that colorwork design. And so I did 60 stitches for this sock and just 10 rows of 1x1 ribbing. And it actually stays up pretty well. I was not sure since there was so little here, but since I only did 60 stitches, I think that helped it to be a little bit narrower. So yeah, these actually stay up pretty well. So I just have to finish weaving in the ends on the second sock and wet block it, but this one is done, and yeah, I'm excited. It's just a cute little pair of socks. I did add, so there are 5 colors here in the Pop Art bundle, but I used a white mini skein for all the contrast just so that it could kind of highlight all of those fun other colors. So that's my new pair of socks that I get to enjoy finally. And I think that's all of my knitted finished objects. So I'm going to show you just a couple of other things that I finished in these past couple of weeks. So first of all, I have this extremely cute pair of shorts that I sewed. This pattern is the Bow Boxer Shorts by Matchy Sewing Club, and this fabric is also from Matchy. So if you look up the pattern, this is the same fabric that they used in one of their samples. And I am actually wearing today a pair of shorts that are store-bought, but I got them last year and I ended up wearing them, I think, the whole summer, just about every day. I love the pink, and they're a cotton fabric, and they are kind of that looser boxer style that I'm so thankful is more prevalent these days, because I'm not really a person who likes to wear shorts until I found this pair that I'm wearing, and I realized that this is what I want in a pair of shorts. So when I came across the sewing pattern, I knew it would be perfect for me, and I am so glad that I executed it well, because I have made garments in the past that just, have been so-so, and I haven't worn them. So I'm so glad to have made something that I know I'm going to wear probably all summer. So this is just a cotton fabric, and it has this really cute detail on the side. It's this little split. There's a split here, and then you make and sew on these ribbons, and you tie them into bows. So we've got bows on both sides. Plus it'll be breathable in here since there's that little split. There's two views of this pattern. There's a low rise, or like a mid rise and a high rise. So this is the high rise version. So they're definitely pretty long, but they sit more at my like natural waist up here at the top, versus a low rise version, which I'll probably try at some point. But yeah, so I just think this is super awesome. The pattern was extremely easy, and yes, I say that as somebody with sewing experience, but as a person who has largely been unsuccessful with sewing adult clothing, I can say that this pattern was pretty easy, and I pretty much got it done in a day. So there we go. I'm impressed with myself with the way that I got my fabrics to line up in the front. It's a little bit different in the back. Not quite, well, yeah, it's not quite as perfect, but that's okay. So yeah, super easy. There's a little waistband in here with an elastic, and I just think it's so cute. So I think that this would look cute with the sweater for one of those spring days where, you know, it's cold and warm, and so it makes sense to wear a sweater with shorts. And then I'm just picturing like these socks, so like the mismatched stripes and even like the directional stripe change. I just think that would be so fun. And then with the sweater or something, you know, pink or something like that. Yeah, so cute. Don't know how often I'll actually wear this, but they look cute together side by side. And I do have 2 more fabrics to make 2 more pairs of these shorts, because I think I'm going to pretty much wear these again every day in the summertime, so I need a little bit of variety. So these ones I ordered from Bolt Fabric, which is where I also get my patterns printed if I want them printed up, so I'm not, you know, doing little printer sheets, because they have a really decent price for their pattern printing service. So Bolt Fabric is a good one to go with. But they also carry these beautiful fabrics. I think the designer is Fabulism, and they just have the most gorgeous collections of fabrics. So I got 2 of the same fabrics in different colorways. And funnily, they're basically the same colors, just one has the gingham pattern and this one does not. But when I saw the picture for this fabric online, I thought it was pink. And it's so strange because when I received it in person and I saw that it's actually blue with the little undertones of orange, and then I looked back at the picture, I could see this. But without seeing this in person, that picture still looks pink to me. So yes, I thought I was getting pink. I did not. And that's okay. So I'll have kind of more of a solid hearts pair of shorts, and then this gingham one, which I think will be really fun. And so yeah, I'll have 2 more pairs of the bow boxer shorts with these fabrics, and they are a little bit thicker. So this is pretty light, to the point where I'm going to have to wear undergarments that match this. Otherwise they'll be kind of see-through, but they'll be perfectly nice and lightweight for the summertime. And these ones will be a little bit thicker, so I could even wear these in the fall with a pair of tights or something underneath. But yeah, so that's my fun sewing adventure right now with the bow boxer shorts. Okay, I've got 2 of probably my most epic finishes of all time behind me. One is the cross stitch and the other is the quilt. We'll start with this cross stitch. So last time I recorded a video, I was still working on this, and I mentioned that my goal was to finish it in January. And I think I was about 75% of the way done with the project. So it was doable and I managed it. I got it done on January 30th. And I want to say that I started this in the beginning of June. So yep, I worked on this pretty steadily for about 6 months, and 6 or 7 months. And I'm so happy to say that it's done, and it's so beautiful. So I'm trying not to get the glare too much. Luckily, the frame that I bought, I actually upgraded my glass to the anti-glare, and I have to say it's doing a pretty good job. You can kind of see the difference between how this is glaring with the ring light and this one, which is just, you know, the cheapest glass you could probably get. It's an IKEA frame. So yeah, it's doing a good job, but there we go. It's so cute. So this is Coffee and Eggs by the Artsy Housewife, and I stitched it with all of the called for colors. This is a 28 count. I think it's an even weave fabric. I did 2 over 2 with this, so 2 strands over two threads, and I just think it's so beautiful. I love all of the colors. I'm going to hang this in my bedroom. I think it would look absolutely perfect in here with the green couch and my coffee maker's right there, but I have I'm kind of redoing some decorations in my house, and there's a perfect spot in my bedroom, so I think I'm going to put this in my bedroom, and yeah, we'll see from there. I did frame it myself, so I had this frame. I custom ordered this from a website called Art2Frame, and that website's kind of fun because you can actually upload an image of whatever you're going to frame, and you can try it out in all of the different frame colors. So I tried it out in, probably 8 or 10 different frames, and then I narrowed it down to 6, and I shared all of those on Instagram and asked everybody kind of what they thought. And this dark brown frame and the bright red frame were the 2 most popular, and I was highly considering the red, because I think the red would have pulled out this Classic Colorworks ribbon red so beautifully. And I mean, just the mock-up of like the digital image looked so great, but I kind of worried that eventually I maybe get a little tired of looking at it. So, I just decided to play it safe a little bit. But I will be saving that red frame like in mind for maybe a smaller piece, and I can maybe put it side by side. But yes, so I did go with the dark brown frame, and there we go. So yeah, and again, I framed it myself, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think I got all the margins just right. So when I had this piece of fabric, I had my selvage edge on one side, like maybe over here, and so the amount of fabric that I had was basically like this to try to get it framed in, and I managed to get it in. I got so worried about it when I saw the size of the frame that it wouldn't fit, but it did, so that's awesome. So yeah, she's all done. I'll make sure to put some pictures up so that the glare isn't on it the whole time. But yeah, I am actually extremely impressed with this anti-glare glass. I think it was worth the money. It looks really awesome, and it looks, in person, it looks crystal clear. Like there's nothing bouncing off of it. Like even, these frames, my overhead lights are reflecting off of it, and they cast different shadows and stuff. So this, yes, totally worth it right here. So my next finished object is something I am so excited about, and I also shared this the last time, but I just had the quilt top finished. By the time I actually got that video uploaded, because it usually takes me a couple days to edit a video, especially when it's 2 hours long like that one was, by the time I had gotten that up, I had already finished quilting this. So all I had left to do was the binding. So yeah, I got this done pretty quickly. I was determined that I didn't want it to sit, because I really wanted to enjoy it and kind of celebrate all of the work that went into it, because I actually started this quilt back in November, and I just worked on it kind of slowly here and there. Some days I tried to make 2 blocks. Some days I only managed to make 1, and there was only maybe 1 to 2 days per week that I was able to sew these blocks, because of course I can only sew when I'm here at my shop, and when I'm here I have customers, I'm dyeing yarn, I have my daughter. So yes, slowly but surely I plugged away on this quilt, and I'm just so excited. So again, I will include some photos so that you can get a better overall look, and I'm going to try to film a little bit of B-roll that I can maybe insert as I'm talking about this right now. But I will kind of show it to you too. So I did share a lot about the quilt top in my last video, so I won't go into that a whole lot, but I can talk a little bit about how I finished it. So I did use mostly Ruby Star Society fabrics from the Melody Miller Juicy collection. I had purchased a fat quarter bundle and decided to make these 12-inch Sawtooth stars with it. So the majority of these fabrics are from the Juicy collection. Some cotton in my mouth. And then I supplemented it with a few things, like you might recognize this fabric from the Starry collection. And then I had 2 different solids, this pink and this green, that I added in a little bit, but the rest of the fabrics are Juicy Collection. So I love what I achieved with this very simple quilting. I think that the quilt stayed a little bit puffy, and this has been washed and everything, so it's fully quilted, which is great. You know, that's always the moment of truth, is when you wash the quilt and you kind of get to see the way that it crinkles and how it takes the quilting top stitches that you did. I decided to go really simple with the quilting process here since I quilted it myself and it's kind of large. I only did, these are 2-inch diagonal lines, you know, from one corner to the next. And I decided to do that instead of a grid pattern, which was what I have done usually in the past. If I'm not quilting in the ditch, I usually do the 2x2 square kind of grid pattern where you do horizontal lines in both directions. But I decided to omit that because once I'd got the one side done and I looked back at it, I just realized I think it's perfect. It doesn't take away too much from the motifs. It's not very distracting, and I just felt like it had a nice modern look, very cute. And again, I'm very happy with the process and how it turned out because it's still a little bit puffy, and yeah, I couldn't be happier. So I did machine quilt, and I did the binding on my machine and everything. So yes, that's how I did it. And the backing fabric is Ruby Star Society. Again, it's the starry line. They have some fabrics with a 108-inch wide back, so I decided to pick one of their fabrics that would kind of go with the whole project in the 108 inches so that I wouldn't have to piece any backing. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So you can see these nice solid quilt lines, and I just think it was really effective. It is my favorite quilt I've ever made. So I'm really happy with it. The binding is actually from, I think the collection is called Speckled. It's still Ruby Star Society, and my plan was to use the starry fabric, but I kind of only had some scraps left, so I didn't think it would be enough. And this ended up taking more binding than I originally calculated anyway, so I just pulled this from Stash, but it has these really tiny speckles of blue and orange and pink, which pulls from other colors in here. But I just knew I wanted chartreuse binding, especially with the backing, and I just think it's so fun. So yeah, I'm very happy with this quilt. I love some of these blocks so much, like right here. The different color combinations I think are really fun. There's one kind of in the center of the quilt that I think is my favorite, and because of the way that I utilize the fabric, I was only able to make one with this as the kind of the background, but it's this pink with these reddish hearts. And then we've got peach here, and then white and peach and yellow, and I think this one is kind of my favorite because I love this fabric. But again, I only was able to make one square with that. So it's kind of, you know, it's special. That is my awesome quilt that has been totally finished up. All right, so now let's talk about some works in progress. I think I have 3 knitting projects to share and 3 cross stitch that I'll share very quickly. And then that's about it. So for knitting, let's go ahead and start with a project that I shared last time. I'm very excited to share it again today because I have made progress. So again, I won't go into the whole backstory of this project because I just talked about it 2 weeks ago. So if you're kind of curious, you can look back on my last video if you have not yet seen that one. But this is the Sweet Shop Blanket by Laura Penrose, and I am happy to say that I have resumed progress. So if you recall, I had a little snafu over here. I had a rogue square that I could not conceptualize a way to knit it with these half square triangles and do all the pickup stitches and get it just right. So I had mentioned that I was pretty much just planning to rip it out and just keep going from this side as I should have in the beginning. And My friend Maddie, actually, she saw my video and she sent me a YouTube link to a Laura Penrose video for her, the Stella blanket, which I own that pattern. And I hadn't thought to check that pattern to see if maybe it did talk about a way to incorporate this little square. But Maddie said that it did. So I looked through it a little bit and I could not find, and this is my fault because it's like a 40-minute video and there weren't chapters. So just quickly going through it, I could not find how to incorporate that square. So thank you, Maddie. I did try to look at it, but I realized I should just rip it out. And you know how long it took? Maybe 3 minutes. So this project sat dormant for weeks because of a 3-minute mistake to fix. But you know, it was less about the 3 minutes and more about, I knew I had spent an hour knitting that square, so I really wanted to make it work, but enough time had passed from working on this actively the last time that I realized I was being silly and I was ready to move on. So I ripped it out and I went ahead and knit my next square. So there we go. So now we're back in business. And as a quick reminder, these yarns are the Goosey Fibers, the 2024 Now We Are 6 Winnie the Pooh countdown calendar. Very, very cute. It's such a very cute collection, and I could not be more pleased with it. My yarns are wrapped up. We'll worry about that later. So yeah, all the minis are from that calendar, and then my main color is my undyed merino DK base. So I'm holding these double, and then the white is DK, and I love the way it's turning out. I think I'm using a US 6, so a 4mm needle as is recommended. And something I did not mention in the last video that I forgot, I did make my squares slightly smaller, so I actually omitted one of the increase rows, if you will, for each square, because I had kind of heard from some other people who made this that the 20-gram minis were just barely not enough, and since we're holding them double, and I just wanted to avoid the potentially running into that, because I plan on going back and with the other half of each ball, with the other half of the skein, so the leftover yarn, I'm going to knit a second square. So this will be doubled in size from just the regular 24 skeins. I said that horribly, but I'm sure you know what I mean. So I just decided to play it safe and do one less of the increases. So my squares are a little bit smaller, so just so you know. But yeah, that's my gorgeous Sweet Shop blanket. This is a very fun project to knit on, so I'm happy to be back to it. In fact, I picked it up to work on the other day, but I realized I had taken the needles out for something else, so I need to return the needles to the bag so that I can work on it. So that is my Sweet Shop blanket by Laura Penrose. So the next project is a new cast-on, and I'll go ahead and start my cast-ons with this one because this is sort of a follow-up to something I had mentioned in my last video. So I purchased some Purl Soho yarns, and then I dyed some mohair to go with them. And I was planning on making the jean sweater by Johanna Garish. And so when I sat down to start that project, something I did not realize when I mentioned that pattern before is, so it's all in centimeters, and I did the math incorrectly when I bought the pattern, and it's really not a very size inclusive pattern, so just FYI, yeah, in case you decide to look at it, you might want to have to consider the sizes because there's just not that many to choose from. So again, I did sit down to attempt it, and it can definitely be done, and plenty of people have done it, and if I wanted to, I could do it, but I cast on, again, I cast it on, I tried out the pattern, and then I decided that I was going to find a new pattern for the yarn. You know, it's a bit unfortunate because I really love the finished object, but I just didn't feel very good knitting it. Like the size inclusivity issue aside, even just the process of knitting it, trying it, was not fun. And this is going to sound very silly, but it almost felt hostile, like the pattern felt hostile. I know that's totally in my head, but it's just all around, I did not enjoy the process. So I decided to find a new pattern. Now your mileage may vary. You might look at that pattern and absolutely love it. And I have knit patterns like that before where you're referring to multiple charts and you're keeping track of, okay, you've got to increase on these ends and make sure you're doing knits and purls here. And then you got to work the chart this many times. And then you need to do more increases in these areas. But the problem was that the charts kind of omitted particular information that was only in written segments. And it just felt like a little bit too much room for potential error, and I just didn't want to deal with that right now. So anyway, I had been sharing that I was planning on knitting that, and I'm not. So I found a new pattern, and honestly, I'm not as excited about the pattern, but it's by Sari Nordland. It's the Luca pullover, and it's a totally beautiful pattern. The only reason why I'm a little bit less excited is because I loved in the jean sweater the even striping and then the kind of lacy feather and fan sort of style knit. So to kind of find something similar, I decided to look through Ravelry for striped chevron patterns, and I came across two that it was like a toss-up for me, and they're both beautiful, both size inclusive, both stripy, so I think they both would have worked, but what it came down to was the shape of the garment, and so I decided to go with this one. Part of me wishes I should have, maybe gone for the other one, but I've already bought this pattern. So the other one is called Wavy Gravy. Can't think of the designer, but I'll make sure to link it below because it's really cute. And if you want to make a striped chevron style pattern, it's definitely one to look at. So again, I'm doing the Luca pullover, and I have gotten started. And you know what's interesting is because I knit the jean sweater, I started the back neck, which is the same way that this one starts. The two patterns, the way that you knit them is actually, at least in the beginning, it's almost the same. I mean, the stitch pattern is different, but the process, including the edge stitches and the way you're incorporating increases, is similar. Now, there's not the same raglan setup in this one like there was in the other one, so that's a little bit different, but there's a lot of similarities. And this one already feels better because Sari actually gives you all the information in a cohesive manner. And there's different charts for different sizes. So yes, the experience has been much better. But here's my main color. This is what I've started with. So I will still get to have my fun bright red stripes. It'll just be fewer. So yeah, we'll see if that ends up satisfying that, or if I'm going to have to make a different pink and red striped sweater with even striping. But yeah, so I've started on the back. I've got my chevron pattern established here, and eventually, I think this will probably eventually connect in the round. We'll see how that goes. I'm not sure if it's knit in separate panels and then seamed, but I think you keep knitting and increasing until it's large enough that you join it in the round. But that's my pink, and here's my red. So these yarns are Pearl Soho Linen Quill, and they're very fun. So I just dyed some silk mohairs to kind of go with it. This is my Huga colorway, and this is California Poppy. So that's my update on my pink and red sweater. I have gotten started, but it hasn't been totally smooth sailing, but fun nonetheless, and I'll be excited to wear that one when it's ready. And my other new knitting cast-on, and this is the last knitting project I'll share with you. I am extremely excited about this one. So this is in my Rose and the Wren bag that I talked about last time that I totally love. It was holding my dear Duomo, and so I've swapped it out for this new cast-on. I have started the Pressed Flowers cardigan by, is it Amy Christoffers? How did I forget? She also designed the Poly cardigan, which I knit at the end of last year. But I have had this yarn in my stash waiting to become this project for a while now. So this is special because I'm using my hand spun. When I first started spinning, these were two of the first yarns that I ever made, and it's a 2-ply. I just spun these end to end, so this was before I learned how to do fractal spinning, but I think it's going to be perfect for this pattern regardless. I think fractal spin would have looked maybe even a little bit better, but no problem. So this is fiber from Wee Chickadee. I think it was called Opal. Absolutely gorgeous. I would love to get more and do a 2-ply fractal and just kind of see the difference in the yarn. So yeah, that's my contrast. And my main color is from Treehouse Knits. This is Sea of Venus on the Sierra Sport base. So I had pre-ordered this whenever this colorway came out, again, for this cardigan. So you can definitely see that there are going to be some moments where the main color is actually in this yarn, and so it'll be a little bit lower contrast, but I'm actually not worried about it because I have started knitting it, and even if there are spots that are very low contrast, I think it's going to have the most beautiful watercolor effect. So I fully expect that some of my flowers will look more like flowers than the others, and that's okay. So I cast this on yesterday during knitting group here at the shop. So I finished my ribbing down at the bottom, and I have started the mosaic color work with my flowers, so you can see where my hand spun is coming into play, and I'm just very excited. I have a feeling this is going to take over my life from start to finish until it's done, because I love mosaic colorwork knitting, and especially this sagey green pistachio color. That's, other than pink, that is my favorite color. And then my hand spun. It's just, this whole project feels so good to work on. So yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if I have this finished by the next time I record, because I love it. The process of mosaic colorwork is so satisfying, and it's the same way that brioche is satisfying with all of like the slipping stitches and all of that. So yeah, just a little meager start from yesterday's cast on, but I fully expect to make lots of progress. There's more of my hand spun, the colors, so yeah. I'm so excited about this one. I'm just going to quickly show the 3 cross stitch projects that I have worked on since I last recorded, and then I will show you just the little bit of yarn that I got at the Scenic Stitches event last weekend. So let's start with my Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Arctic Animals Stitch Along. I have made progress. So the new clue I think comes out this Thursday. I should have this done in time. So yay for that, because I think the next animal will be the narwhal. I'm really hoping. I'm very excited. I did check to see how many clues were left, and I've forgotten. So I'm here, and then I'll have to do a chunk here, and then I think that there will be like a band or something at the bottom. So I'm pretty sure that after this row, there's no more animals. So the narwhal must go here, but we'll see. They usually do a little, like a spoiler picture to kind of show you what's coming on that Thursday in the days leading up to it. So I should find out in a couple days. So yeah. So I have started my adorable little polar bear. His face is so precious. I love him so much that I can't stand it. I love his tiny face. And then I've got one of his legs and part of his belly coming in. I do have a little mistake here. So I did start on the little glacier platform area, and I realized I actually omitted 3 stitches in here. So this is not quite as wide as it's supposed to be. So I think I can probably just fudge it. I mean, you're not going to be able to tell if I got my rock shading placement in the exact perfect spot. It won't matter, but I think I'll have to maybe do a little bit of adjustment wherever his foot is going to land. And then I'll have to extend it just a little bit just to make sure it matches up with the next chart. So I might wait until the next chart comes out just to see how it's going to interact with this. And I'll probably just have to play around with it a little bit. But there we go. So that's my update from last time. My polar bear is probably halfway done. I did count how many stitches were in this clue, and it's definitely fewer than the last clue, I think. So, and fewer than the last 2 clues maybe. So this one hasn't felt quite as daunting to get done. And I guess we'll, oh, I grabbed the wrong project. So we can kind of stick with the frosted pumpkin patterns, and I'll show you again my winter wattleland. So I have worked on this just a little bit since I last shared. I have basically finished this little penguin except for the back stitching. So once the ice is stitched under her, I'll have to stitch in her skates, like back stitch, and I have to outline her the same way that this one is outlined. But otherwise, she is so precious, and she's done. And I finished this penguin, his little body peeking out behind the gate there. And I did start on Wattleland. I think I worked a little bit. I did start working a little bit on filling in more of the gate and the ice. So yeah, I think I've had 1 session of stitching on this since I last recorded. So just a little bit of progress, but you know, that's what feels good. Just a little bit at a time. So I totally love this one. I love this pretty fabric. I wish that this was going to end up in there, but it will not, unfortunately. So we'll see how I decide to frame this. I'll probably try to keep a little bit of the excess fabric in the frame because it's so cute. So there's that one. And finally, I kind of have a new start. I did technically share this many months ago when I started it, but there were only maybe 2 stitches in the whole thing, so we'll just say I just started this. So this is in this extremely cute project bag. I love this bag so much, and I love everything about this project. So this is a project by JetX Stitch, and it is called Strawberry Mountain. This one makes me so happy. When I first finished this one, I just started working on this right away, and so I got a lot done, and then I finished, and then I worked on other things. But so yeah, I feel like I have a good bit done already, and I'll share a picture of what this will look like. Interestingly, it's all so much bigger than I thought this would be in this pattern, so that's very exciting. I have a nice big cut of fabric here. This is Fiber on a Whim in the color Brick, and this is, I think, a 32 count Belfast linen, and I have a fat quarter here. So this will be a very horizontal kind of stitch, and then I'll have lots of extra here so I can put more projects on it. And you may have noticed my little over the garden wall needle minder. I got that from Dye Mad Yarns, I think. And here is the most gorgeous color palette. This makes me so happy. All of these colors paired together. I think they are so gorgeous. I cannot wait to see this stitched up. Just the sample photo of this has just had my heart, just captured my heart since it came out. So it feels really good to be actually working on this, and then seeing it stitched up before me is even better. So this is a very exciting stitch. This one doesn't go on the floss drop, but it's kind of the main color, so it's featured in a lot of different places. So yeah, I'm very excited to be working on that one. I definitely aim for a finish on this one this year, and I already have the frame picked out and everything, but I will wait until I'm done before I order it. That'll be what will push me to keep going. Okay, so I'll quickly share with you what I got from Scenic Stitches last weekend. So I got to take a little day trip with a couple of my knitting friends, which is really nice. I usually, when I go to events these days, I am a vendor, and there's a whole other level of, the big picture thing of the trip. So it's fun and it's invigorating, but it's not relaxing, and it's not really enjoyable, and it's not about shopping and getting to see people. But this one was nice because next month I have Nash Yarn Fest, which is going to be, I think it's going to be pretty big, and definitely high anxiety for me as a vendor. So it was nice to kind of go and cleanse my palette a little bit with this one in Chattanooga anyway, it's just an attendee. So I bought yarn from one person, from Fangirl Fibers, and it was so precious because when I walked up to her and I was like, hey, it's Ashley, she just jumped up and gave me the biggest hug, and it was so sweet. It was like connecting with a longtime friend. We've only met in person once at Wool & Folk a couple years ago, but we chat sometimes online. And at SAF, 2024 SAF, our booths were supposed to be side by side, so we were kind of both excited about that, and we had chatted about it. And of course, SAF got canceled, so we didn't get to do that. But when I saw her, she turned and told the person who was with her, like, this was supposed to be my neighbor, and it was so cute. So I think we'll both be at SAF again this year. So maybe they'll still put us side by side. Anyway, she is a delight, like so much fun to talk to. She's got great energy. So I was excited to buy from her, and she had saved one of her last couple of bags for me. So this is so incredible. This fabric, it's vinyl or something, but I just love it. So it says, nothing haunts you like the yarn you didn't buy. So my friend and I both got these bags, and this was the yarn that I bought from her. She shared this on her Instagram probably several months ago, and I loved the color palette so much. And so when I saw it in person, I knew this would have to be my special little purchase. So this was the yarn that I bought at Scenic Stitches. It is it's called Scream Queen's half skein set. These are DK weight 50-gram skeins, perfect for like a colorwork doodle or something. But what I think I'm going to do with this, instead of making a cowl, which I have made many, I am going to make the doodle sweater, I think, and make this my colorwork yoke. So I'm trying to decide what theme I want to do, but I think I'm going to do kind of a moth sweater using the Jamie Lomax doodle pattern, the doodle sweater pattern, and mixing and matching charts from her book and the different card decks and all of that. So if you don't know, I do carry her card decks, all of her card decks on my website if you are looking for a place to get those. But yeah, so I'm sort of planning. I will probably kind of draw out and chart how I want my sweater to look, but I think this will be my colorwork yoke, and I'll just have to decide on what kind of main color to go with. I could see myself doing something like this peachy pink as the main color, and then using these for a lot of like the more vibrant colorwork motifs, and then maybe using the peach for like accents in the moths and whatever else I choose. But I could see doing, you know, black and pink moths and red mushrooms and just, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not going to jump into this until I really have it charted out and just perfect, because I love this color palette and I want it to be very successful. I want it to be a really successful knit. So other than that, I also got 3 pairs of earrings, and that is everything I purchased. And I forgot to bring one of the pairs with me, but I'll try to include a picture if I remember. So the first pair were these Soot Sprites. This is from an artist in Chattanooga. She had the cutest stuff. She had the companion cube from Portal, and I was so torn because I wanted all the things, and obviously that's not realistic, but I think I'll probably end up ordering them off of her website if she's got them on there. So yes, Soot Sprites, both ears of course. And then I got No Face. Very, very cute. And this artist is called Hello Disco, handmade in Chattanooga. There's their profile. I'll make sure to link them below, but there you go. So Hello Disco, and there's their socials, and she was really sweet. So that was very fun. I enjoyed myself a lot. We also went to, after we left the event, we went to lunch at a restaurant called Attack of the Tatsu, and it was delicious. They had tempura shishito peppers and ramen, and it was so good. So we had the best day ever. And it was actually on that car trip that I knit my second sleeve. So I love bringing a knitting project on the road if I'm not the driver. And yeah, I started it, I think the night before, just to pick up the stitches, and then I knit the whole thing that day on Sunday. So yeah, really special day. So I've had a really nice 2 weeks, much better than the time I have been having before that. So yeah, other than that, other than lots and lots of crafting and preparing for Nash Yarn Fest, because I have been trying my best to dye as much yarn as I can, and planning out booth stuff and all of that. Other than that, I have been trying to be a little bit more balanced in my life, so resuming some other hobbies that I haven't touched in a while. For example, gaming. I kind of gave it up for a long time because, you know, I have a 2-year-old and I have the business, and there's just so much. It's like I really want to spend my time crafting. So for a long time, if I would try to pick up a video game, I felt the whole time like this anxiety that I must be crafting and I want to be productive. And it's not really a bad thing, because that is genuinely what makes me the happiest. But I felt like I was just kind of pushing out other avenues of my free time, like how I could spend my time. So yes, back in December, I actually got a PlayStation 5. Finally. The person that I work for my part-time work from home job, she gave me a very generous end of the year bonus gift. And it was in the form of a gift card. So naturally I had to buy something for myself, you know, and I, you know, couldn't pay bills with it or anything. I had to buy something. So I got myself a PlayStation 5 and I played Stray. Oh my gosh, that game has just been on my mind ever since. And now it's been like 2 months, I think, since I finished it. But that game has been on my mind every day. It is my new favorite game of all time. It's my new favorite universe. I mean, I don't know. There's like 3 universes that I love and treasure so much. There's Stardew Valley, there's the Fallout universe, and then there's Stray. And those, to me, those just, oh my gosh, they make me so happy. So yes, I really enjoyed Stray. I think I beat it in like 2 days. It was not a long game, but it was very exciting. I loved the lore, the art. It was all just so beautiful. So I really want to make a Stray themed crafty project. And I know that Nerdy Knits, Grace, she dyes yarn based on Stray, but I think she doesn't do that collection anymore. I could be wrong. But I would love to get a skein of yarn from her and knit a Stray themed project. I also looked for Stray themed cross stitch designs, and I couldn't find any, so I was thinking maybe I should design my own. But do I have time for that? Maybe this summer. So yeah, I've been thinking about Stray a lot, and I want to pick it back up and replay it and get all of the things that I missed the first time. So yeah, that's everything that I've been thinking about working on, and I'm just going to continue, I think, mostly working on the works in progress that you saw today. So yeah, I hope you guys are all having a great time, and spring is coming. That's wonderful. If you're going to garden or make warm weather knits or whatever you plan on doing, I hope you have a really nice time and that all is well with you. So thank you again for joining me today, and I will see you guys here pretty soon, I hope. Bye.